He crossed the Alps with frostbitten men and war elephants, leaving bodies frozen in the snow. Rome thought him mad, until he crushed legion after legion on their own soil. At Cannae, the earth drank so much blood it turned black. Senators wept. Mothers searched ash fields for sons who'd never return. This wasn't just war, it was fear made flesh. For nearly 2 decades, Hannibal haunted the Republic, brilliant and relentless, carving scars Rome would never forget. This is the story of the man who brought the empire to its knees, and the war that nearly broke its spine. Embark with us on a journey into the heart of the ancient Mediterranean, where the empires of Rome and Carthage stood as titanic forces, locked in a struggle for supremacy. In the vibrant city of Carthage, bustling with the scent of spices and the hum of many languages, a young boy named Hannibal Barca emerges. Born into a world teetering on the brink of monumental change, his is not merely the tale of a child in a distant land, it is the saga of destiny and hatred, of a solemn vow that will echo through the corridors of history. In the aftermath of the First Punic War, where Rome had wrested Sicily from Carthage, Hannibal's father, Hannibal Barca, harboured an intense disdain for the Romans. This seasoned general and architect of Carthage's revenge imbued his son with the same burning ambition. Picture Hamilcar, a figure forged in battle and intrigue, as he passes his fervour onto his son, ensuring Hannibal inherits more than just a name. He inherits a mission. It is under Hamilcar's stern tutelage that young Hannibal learns that war is fought as much with wit and resolve as it is with swords. In a dim sanctuary, heavy with the scent of incense and ancient murmurs, a ritual of profound significance unfolds. Before a blood-stained altar, the boy pledges a lifelong hatred of Rome. Placing his hand upon cold stone, this oath becomes etched into the fabric of his being. More than words, it is a passage into a life of struggle and ambition, binding him to a destiny woven with peril and greatness. Such rites permeated Carthaginian society, where oaths carried the weight of gods and ancestors, cementing in Hannibal a fierce loyalty and determination. Carthage itself stands at the heart of this tale, a city born from Phoenician settlers, diverse and rich with cultural and economic splendour. Within its bustling streets, where countless accents mingle and merge, Hannibal's education extends beyond military strategy. He grows amid a complex tapestry of African, Iberian, and Levantine customs, shaping his worldview with adaptability and keen insight. This melting pot teaches him to become a figure both feared and respected across the Mediterranean. As tensions simmer between Rome and Carthage, Hannibal stands poised at the threshold of destiny. These two great powers are entangled in a dance of ambition, each perceiving the other as a threat to its expansion. Carthage's naval supremacy and mercantile might are challenged by Rome's military discipline and relentless growth. To Hannibal, Rome is not just a distant foe, it is the embodiment of the oath he has sworn, a spectre looming over his ambitions. The Roman Senate, wary of Carthage's resurgence, watches with growing unease. Amid rites of passage marking his maturation, Hannibal's upbringing's further defined by Carthage's communal ceremonies, rich in symbolism and tradition. These rituals are not mere milestones, but profound transformations, instilling in him the virtues of courage, honour, and victory. The austere temples and the military camps become his classrooms, teaching him the values of leadership and resilience. Surrounded by comrades, he absorbs lessons that fortify bonds beyond the battlefield. Even as a child, Hannibal understands that war is waged with more than weapons. It is an arena of minds. Rome, the formidable opponent, must be seen as a giant poised to strike. To Hannibal, fear and terror become tools of warfare as potent as any sword. His tactics are performances that target the enemy's morale, sowing seeds of doubt among Rome's disciplined legions. As Hannibal harnesses these psychological strategies, his reputation as an enigmatic commander begins to form, raising the stakes of every engagement. Carthage's storied past casts long shadows on Hannibal, offering lessons from figures like Dido and renowned generals such as Mago and Hanno. These legends provide guidance through the annals of memory, inspiring Hannibal to aspire beyond mere historical footnote into an icon of change. In the war councils and echoing halls of Carthage, history's giants whisper lessons on diplomacy and strategy. Hannibal's fascination with these titans is aspirational. He imagines joining their ranks to become a legend himself. The fates, like invisible weavers, intertwine Hannibal's destiny with the broader narrative of history. As if guided by divine hands, he finds himself drawn inexorably toward conflict with Rome, a rivalry rooted in ancient enmity. Each decision is painted as a stroke of fate, adding layers to a cosmic narrative. Here, history tells a tale of destiny and free will, as intertwined forces that leave readers pondering who ultimately scripts our stories. As Romans and Carthaginians prepare for their monumental clash, the scales of fate hang heavy, waiting for Hannibal to tip them, shaping a chapter destined to redefine the ancient world. In the rugged and wild landscapes of Iberia, Hannibal arrived not just to conquer, but to engage with the region's diverse and fiercely independent tribes. The Iberian Peninsula, a sprawling stretch from the Atlantic to the Pyrenees, was home to Celtic and Iberian tribes, each with unique customs and warrior traditions. These peoples lived in fortified hilltop settlements, their lives interwoven with artistry and commerce, presenting Hannibal with both challenges and opportunities. To command this land meant navigating its daunting terrain of rolling hills and dense forests, a landscape that could become either a fortress or a trap, depending on the strategist wielding it. Hannibal, with his sharp strategic mind, sought alliances as much as conquests. He envisioned Iberia not merely as territory to be subdued, but as a stage for diplomatic and military brilliance. Respectful of local customs, he wove the landscape's diversity into Carthaginian strategy, setting his course through a tapestry of diplomacy, surprise, and calculated military strength. It was a mosaic of interlaced strategies and alliances, all driven by a commander who understood the power of leveraging local knowledge with Carthaginian might. His experiences in Iberia honed Hannibal's tactical acumen, cementing his legacy as a military genius. Iberia became a proving ground where battles were danced like duels of deception and patience. Unlike the brute force favoured by Roman legions, Hannibal excelled in guerrilla tactics and psychological warfare, focusing not on direct confrontation, but on outmaneuvering and outthinking his adversaries. Here he developed the art of surprise and learned to adapt swiftly, refining the tactics that would later puzzle Roman generals on a grander scale. Central to Hannibal's campaign was the city of Saguntum, south of the Ebro River. This strategic jewel on the Iberian coast represented more than a military target. It was a symbol of potential conquest and a challenge to Roman influence. Its fortified walls, thriving economy, and Roman alliances made Saguntum a beacon of wealth and power. A city whose capture would unequivocally alter the regional balance. To Hannibal, Saguntum offered an irresistible opportunity to demonstrate Carthage's resurgence, drawing a bold line between Carthaginian ambition and Roman authority. The siege of Saguntum unfolded with Hannibal's penchant for drama, characterized by relentless pressure and psychological tactics. It was more than breaching walls, it was about breaking spirits. With meticulous planning, his forces encircled the city, cutting off supplies and unleashing ceaseless assaults. As desperation grew within Saguntum, so did the tension between Carthage and Rome. Hannibal's strategy shifted, employing deception and sowing discord within the city. When the walls finally crumbled, the defeat was not just military, it was an emblem of psychological mastery and determination. Rome's response to the fall of Saguntum was swift and impassioned. For Rome, the city's capture was a clear affront, a direct challenge to its honour and sway. In the Senate, anger burned hotly, pushing towards war as the only recourse. Saguntum's fall drew an irreversible line in the sands, demanding a Roman reaction that was as much about saving face as it was about strategic necessity. Diplomacy soon gave way to the logistics of war, as Roman legions were mustered, ready to face a foe whose cunning had already instilled a sense of mythical threat. The fall of Saguntum tested not only Roman patience, but also reinforced the Barca family's enduring legacy in Carthage. The Barcas under Hamilcar and now Hannibal came to symbolize resilience and ambition. Within Carthage, their name evoked reverence and respect, representing not just generals but beacons of Carthaginian revival. Hannibal's successes in Iberia stoked Carthaginian pride, rallying those yearning for a resurgence of past glory. The allure and power of the Barca name promised a future where Carthage could once again command respect on the Mediterranean stage. With war now inevitable, Rome braced for a large-scale conflict, mobilizing troops with swift efficiency. As the Roman war machine prepared for battle, the struggle was as much psychological as it was physical. The declaration of war against Hannibal set in motion a colossal engagement, one that was layered in complexity and charged with the challenge of confronting a cunning adversary. The ensuing conflict was not merely about military dominance, it was a crucible of Roman adaptability and resolve. In the prelude to battle, the strategic landscape emerged like a chessboard poised for revolution. Hannibal, strategically positioned in Iberia, used this advantage to destabilize Rome even before the clash began in earnest. His chess moves set the stage, ensuring his campaign would be supported by strong alliances with local tribes. Diplomacy became a tool as powerful as his military, fostering a coalition bound by shared visions of Carthaginian ascendancy. As final preparations unfolded, Hannibal's camps in Iberia thrummed with activity. Soldiers readied themselves, not just for battle, but for the monumental journey ahead. The Carthaginian leader's gaze was fixed beyond the horizon, towards Italy, where he would write the next chapter in his epic tale. As the drumbeats of war echoed through his camp, they signalled the start of a campaign designed to unsettle Rome's very foundations. And thus, with determination etched on the winds, Hannibal's odyssey to reshape history began. Hannibal's audacious decision to traverse the Alps was born from both desperation and brilliance. It was a vision no less than divine, dreaming of an unimaginable path to surprise Rome by entering through its heart rather than its guarded gates. The Alps loomed as natural fortresses, their soaring peaks and treacherous weather a daunting challenger to any army. Even the Gaulish tribes, familiar with their oppressive terrain, marvelled at such valour. Yet Hannibal envisioned a path that would carve his name into the bedrock of history. For beyond the mere tactical manoeuvre, the journey promised his men a story woven with glory and hardship, cementing his campaign as legendary. Faced with the immensity of the Alps, Hannibal's army confronted barriers of both earth and spirit. Supplies were scarce, the bitter cold biting harder than any Roman sword. His charisma was the unseen current that propelled his men through freezing winds, quelling thoughts of desertion. The soldiers were galvanized by tales of triumph over the snow-clad heights. Hannibal, the weaver of dreams, led them with an iron will, shaping their struggles into a saga that would resonate through time. This monumental journey demanded the highest order of logistical genius. Hannibal led 50,000 soldiers, backed by 9,000 cavalry and 37 elephants. Winter's grasp offered little mercy. Food was rationed, morale stretched thin by hunger. The paths were narrow, winding serpentine across perilous ridges. Each soldier became a mountaineer, every step a calculated act of survival. Day by day, fresh trials emerged: avalanches, frostbite, and the ceaseless march under sapping conditions. Hannibal orchestrated his resources expertly, rewarding resilience with warmth and sustenance. Despite the brutal landscape, the army's cohesion remained unyielding, an unbreakable bond against nature's wrath. The elephants, symbols of Carthaginian might, transformed the mountains with their presence. More than instruments of war, they were harbingers of fear, their massive silhouettes etching terror into the heavens. The Romans had never confronted such beasts. Their size elevated Hannibal's forces to an almost mythical status. Yet these gentle giants faced their own trial, struggling on slippery tracks, the cold gnawing at their strength. Their care proved a monumental task, but each step forward fueled Hannibal's psychological arsenal. These titans were the living embodiment of his ambition, their march through the Alps becoming a core legend. The Alpine crossing was fraught with danger, not from the elements alone, but from hidden human foes. The tribes of the region stood wary, ambushes lurking in concealed valleys and ridges. They knew every path and shadow, turning their home into a deadly labyrinth. Negotiation and force, diplomacy, and swift battles became Hannibal's tools to navigate these threats. His army adapted while facing constant harassment, gaining the steely edge of seasoned survivors. Their success forged Hannibal's troops into a lethal instrument of war, tempered by adversity and unified by the vision of their determined leader. Each night the army camped, they counted their numbers diminishing, the frozen spectre of attrition never far behind. Men and beasts succumbed to the relentless climb, swallowed by an indifferent mountain wilderness. Abandoned gear and armour littered the path as silent witnesses to the cost of such ambition. Yet with each grueling mile, those who survived embodied a core of resilience, soldiers who had grappled with the limits of endurance and emerged reborn. This evolution fortified them for the battles on the Italian plains, instilling a resolve honed by nature's harshest testing ground. At last, after battling the heights, Hannibal's forces descended onto Italian soil, a metamorphosis complete. No longer beleaguered travellers, they embodied an approaching tempest, ready to etch their mark on Roman lands. As the troops beheld the verdant sweep of Italy, Hannibal proclaimed their victory over the mountains, renewing their spirits with the promise of conquest. They had defied expectations and rewritten strategy, crossing an insurmountable frontier to fracture Roman confidence from within. This legendary leap, an act of both valour and strategy, was to plunge a new nightmare into Roman remembrance. The news of their arrival slammed into Roman consciousness like an earthquake, reshaping fears and defences. The audacity of Hannibal's crossing transformed him into more than an adversary. He became a symbol of terror and brilliance, a living myth challenging their world order. Hannibal wielded fear like a blade, manipulating morale with his spectral presence. He became a shadow that loomed over Rome's collective mind, a spectre defying reality. His leap from the Alps transcended into a mythic tale, one that ruled Roman knights with whispers of vulnerability. As the dust settled, Hannibal's crossing stood timeless, its ripple echoing far beyond the battlefield. His audacity reshaped narratives and inspired sagas, carved into the collective history as a monument to determination and cunning, testament to a mortal who dared challenge divine boundaries. This mythic reimagining of the Alps spoke to resilience, ambition, and the enduring power of a strategic mastermind, a tale perpetuated by history's quill, preserved as both a caution and a marvel. The crossing into this frozen labyrinth is immortalised, as much in military annals as in the human spirit's boundless pursuit. In 217 BCE, the serene waters of Lake Trasimene in Tuscany whispered secrets of impending doom as Rome and Carthage stood poised for a fateful clash. The mist that hugged the eastern shores concealed the true intentions of Hannibal, Carthage's brilliant commander. Amidst the eerie landscapes of marshes and hills, Hannibal prepared to orchestrate a defining moment in the struggle for Mediterranean dominance. Rome, confident and perhaps reckless, gathered its forces under consul Gaius Flaminius, eager to assert its might over the expansionist ambitions of Carthage. Yet, Flaminius's certainty would soon pave the way for a tragedy woven into the annals of history. As dawn broke, shrouded in a dense fog, the Roman legions marched with unwavering discipline. Trumpets blared out their presence, signalling confidence, while unseen eyes traced their every movement from the concealment of hills. Hannibal had crafted a perfect trap, seamlessly blending the elements of surprise and natural landscape into his strategy. The fog thickened around the Romans, a sinister ally to Hannibal's cause, as his soldiers lay in wait, torches flickering ominously against unseen blades. As the day's light struggled to penetrate the mist, Hannibal's horns shattered the silence. Carthaginian forces sprang forth like predators, unseen until their fateful attack. Chaos loomed large, spreading swiftly, as Roman lines broke under the pressure of an assault they couldn't fully comprehend. Panic rippled through the ranks. Friend became indistinguishable from foe in the shadows, the fog betraying the senses. Flaminius and his men, pressed between the water's edge and the hills, found themselves ensnared in a fate they hadn't foreseen. In the heart of this maelstrom, Flaminius faced his doom. Surrounded by turmoil, his dreams of Rome's unyielding glory lay in tatters. Despite a desperate attempt to rally his soldiers, the battle slipped from his grasp. Watching his men fall, the consul grappled with the grim reality of a campaign lost in the fog. As he met his end with a spear's fatal force, Hannibal secured more than just a battlefield triumph. He seized a symbol of Rome's vulnerable pride. The sun ascended, the fog receded, and the massacre at Lake Trasimene revealed itself in all its grim reality. Thousands of Roman soldiers lay scattered, a testament to the obliteration wrought by Carthage. No mere defeat, this was a vanishing act, a testament to Hannibal's deft execution and his uncanny ability to twist terrain to his advantage. Rome awoke to the chilling truth of its vulnerability. A foe not just at their gates, but one who had turned their own lands against them. News of the catastrophe echoed through Rome's corridors of power, unmooring the Senate with its brutal completeness. In the wake of this calamity, the silence that followed was telling. The lake, once tranquil, now reflected the sombre weight of Rome's arrogance and Hannibal's cunning. Survivors bore the scars of their ordeal, their accounts later etched into history by scribes, capturing a tale of despair and fleeting heroics amidst their doomed ranks. These stories, filled with raw human experience, resonated through time, offering a profound understanding of the battle's true cost. Hannibal's reputation grew ever larger, transcending the battlefield, seeding fear across Rome. His mastery lay not in strength of arms alone, but in psychological warfare, turning the elements themselves into instruments of dread. In the echo of Lake Trasimene, Hannibal's image morphed into legend, an enigmatic force of nature challenging Rome's hubris. The ensuing ripples forced Rome to confront an adversary of unparalleled cunning. This legacy reverberated far beyond the immediate loss. Military strategists across eras would dissect Trasimene as a classic study of tactical innovation and the pitfalls of overconfidence. The battle symbolized a philosophical shift in the conduct of warfare, emphasizing deception and the environment as potent weapons. Art and literature, film and study would repeatedly return to this story, finding fresh meaning in its layers of chance, strategy, and the intricate dance of life and death. The tragedy at Lake Trasimene foreshadowed the greater struggle to follow, shaping the destiny of empires. As the initial fog of despair lifted, Rome's pride bore the indelible marks of the encounter. Yet even in this darkness there lay the seeds of resurgence. Hannibal's victory was striking, yet it rallied Rome's resolve as much as it fractured its spirit. In this tale of cunning and consequence, Lake Trasimene endures as an epitome of ancient warfare's brutal humanity, an enduring narrative that continues to fascinate and warn those who listen. In the sultry summer of 216 BCE, a thick anticipation suffused the air over the Italian heartland. Rome stood ready to face a challenge unlike any it had ever known. The Senate, determined to eradicate the threat of Hannibal, marshalled a formidable force, an army of nearly 80,000 infantry and 6,000 cavalry. A testament to Rome's indomitable spirit and power. Consuls Paulus and Varro personified this defiance, spearheading the march toward Cannae, a sun-baked plain set to become a blood-soaked stage. Yet, beneath the surface of Roman bravado, a whisper of uncertainty curled, a question of overconfidence. The die was cast, and history paused in anticipation. Hannibal, a master tactician, stood ready with a force half the size, a mere 40,000 infantrymen and 10,000 cavalry. Yet these were no ordinary soldiers. They were veterans, battle-hardened by campaigns from Iberia to the heart of Italy, united by bonds forged in fire and blood. Under Hannibal's command, an air of quiet confidence permeated the camp, each man aware that this battle was their destiny, an orchestration of cunning and courage that would echo through eternity. As dawn crept over Cannae, the landscape morphed into a forbidding theatre of war. Roman forces, buoyed by their perceived invincibility, assembled in a massive, solid formation, a testament to sheer strength. Hannibal, however, had crafted something subtler. His men spread out in a deliberate crescent pattern, its centre visibly weaker, a deceptive invitation to Roman might. On the flanks, swift Iberian and Numidian cavalry awaited, their presence pivotal, in a strategy woven with Hannibal's characteristic audacity. The dusty fields and the afternoon sun, glaring into Roman eyes, were subtly intertwined into his cunning plan. The clash commenced with a fury worthy of the history books. Roman legions charged into what appeared to be Hannibal's vulnerable centre, confident of an easy victory. Amid the chaos of clanging metal and cries of battle, the Carthaginian centre seemed to falter, fueling Roman arrogance. Yet, unseen, the wheels of Hannibal's trap spun into motion. As Roman forces pushed deeper, Hannibal's wings closed around them with unrelenting ferocity. Trapped in this deadly embrace, the Romans found themselves crushed within a relentless pincer, their famed discipline unravelling into panic. Amid the slaughter, nature itself played a relentless adversary. The relentless August sun bore down unforgivingly, turning the battlefield into a cauldron of heat and exhaustion. Romans, encased in heavy armour, faltered as thirst and fatigue seeped into their bones. Hannibal's troops, more lightly armed and fortified by well-managed supplies, moved with an energy drawn from a more profound well of endurance. It was not just strategic genius at play, but an acute understanding of human limits and survival. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the field of Cannae became a grim tableau of devastation. The Roman dead, numbering around 50,000, lay strewn across the landscape, a grim testament to Hannibal's tactical mastery. Carthaginian losses, though present, paled in comparison. Rome's facade of invincibility was shattered, leaving the city to grapple with the enormity of its defeat, a communal wound that would fester deep into the heart of Roman identity. Yet despite this monumental victory, Hannibal made the enigmatic choice not to march on Rome itself. The reasons for his restraint remain a subject of historical conjecture. Perhaps he understood that Rome's spirit, even in desolation, was far from broken. Conquering the city was not merely a matter of brute force, but required breaking the indomitable Roman spirit, something that could not be achieved in one stroke, or without uncertain losses. Hannibal, with a strategist's patience, knew that time and alliances needed nurturing. In the aftermath, the shockwaves of Cannae reverberated far beyond the battlefield. The loss shook the foundations of Roman alliances, sowing seeds of doubt and whispers of secession. Once steadfast communities re-evaluated their loyalties, the myth of Rome's invulnerability irrevocably tarnished. Hannibal's victory extended into a victory of psychological warfare, undermining allegiances and inciting rumours. Despite the devastation, Rome began a slow, determined recovery. The Senate, with sombre resolve, rallied the battered republic, drawing on the depths of Roman resilience. New legions were formed, alliances reknit, and strategies overhauled. Under this pressure, new leaders like Scipio Africanus emerged, observing and learning from past mistakes, embodying a Rome that, though bloodied, would not break. Cannae reshaped Roman society, birthing a narrative of endurance born of failure, etched into the Roman ethos. The stories of heroism and sacrifice became a part of Roman law, fortifying a communal identity forged in the crucible of adversity. Rome rose anew, determination hardening into tradition and strength. The lessons of Cannae linger through time as both a cautionary tale and a beacon of strategic brilliance. Yet beyond the military genius, it stands as a testament to human endurance. The battle not only questions notions of power and decision, but affirms Rome's capacity for rebirth, an everlasting reminder of a civilization's unyielding spirit in the face of defeat. In the hushed corridors of Rome, A city reeling from blood-soaked fields and haunting defeats, Quintus Fabius Maximus emerged as a figure of unexpected resolve. Known derisively as Cunctator, the delayer, he turned away from Rome's traditional valour, advocating instead for a war of attrition against Hannibal. The Senate, desperate and anxious for any spark of hope, reluctantly embraced his calculated patience as a strategy to counter Hannibal's genius. Fabius's revolutionary approach was not about grand battlefield victories, but about slowly wearing down the invader. He understood the terror of another Cannae and presented a plan as simple as it was profound. Avoid direct conflict and relentlessly harass Hannibal's forces on the periphery. It was a strategy that placed faith not in immediate glory, but in the slow grind of relentless pressure. Fabius became a spectral presence, haunting Hannibal's campaigns with a dance of elusive manoeuvres. The Roman legions transformed into phantoms, appearing on the fringes only to vanish before any decisive engagement. Italy turned into a theatre of shadows, where whispers of movement and the rustle of leaves echoed the frustrations of an army kept at bay. For Hannibal, accustomed to bold strokes and dynamic battles, facing a foe who refused the expected rules was a grating adjustment. His troops found themselves mired in a maddening game of cat and mouse as Fabius's men targeted supply lines and foraging parties, their morale slowly unravelling. Within the walls of Rome, Fabius's tactics brewed discontent. The city, pulsating with the martial spirit of its ancestors, regarded his strategy with suspicion. The masses, craving immediate action, accused him of cowardice, questioning why Rome permitted Hannibal to ravage their lands unchecked. Yet Fabius, resilient in his commitment, remained steadfast amid the storm of criticism, understanding that his approach required more than just battlefield prowess. It demanded unwavering patience. He embodied a kind of Roman valour untethered from immediate confrontation, a stoic endurance that Rome was compelled to learn if it hoped to survive. Gradually, Rome began to accept the wisdom in Fabius's long game, realising that valour could extend beyond the battlefield. In Senate halls and bustling forums, new narratives took shape. Discussions of bravery evolved as Fabius's restraint was reinterpreted not as weakness, but as a strategic play for time. Prophets spoke of the virtues found in patience, altering the city's perception of what constituted true heroism. The landscape of war shifted toward one of endurance, broadening the definition of greatness beyond the clash of swords. As Rome learned to dance with shadows, its legions mastered the art of invisibility, employing guerrilla tactics to strike against Hannibal's vulnerabilities. Troops became whispers on the breeze, delivering swift, decisive strikes and destabilizing the Carthaginian operations. The once invincible Hannibal felt the land itself turn hostile, haunted by unseen dangers lurking at every corner. Rome had mastered the terrain, transforming it into an ally that eroded Hannibal's strength through endless small defeats. This strategy, while scorned by some as dishonourable, ultimately delivered the necessary blows to drain his army of vitality. While Fabius managed the battlefields, Rome engaged in diplomacy, a silent war of words and favours. The Republic sought to woo wavering allies back into its fold, countering the sway of Carthage's earlier conquests. Under Fabius's guidance, trusted envoys fanned out, re-establishing Rome's influence across Italy's fractured political landscape. Through skillful negotiations, Rome chipped away at Hannibal's support, ensuring the defections added to their resurgence. Yet Hannibal, with his tactical prowess, tried to adapt and counter these invisible nets encroaching upon him. His efforts to foment dissent within Rome were bold, dispatching messages of encouragement for defection among Roman allies and staging symbolic victories to maintain his fearsome aura. Despite these attempts, frustration gnawed at him like a persistent echo, as every avoided skirmish and lost ally signalled another setback. Meanwhile, within Rome, the city pulsed with a fervent determination to rebuild and reclaim its destiny. The memories of devastating losses fueled a profound revitalization. The respite won by Fabian's strategy enabled the formation of new legions, renewed with a passionate commitment to survival. Infrastructure swelled, military supply lines armed anew, and the logistical backbone of Rome steadied itself. The crumbling morale of past defeats fertilized a growing resilience as Rome rose from the ashes, emboldened and more unified. Over time, the seeds of Fabian's wisdom began to bloom, revealing a Rome no longer bound by the reactive constraints of its earlier losses. The Republic started to innovate, adopting elements from Hannibal's own playbook, such as flexible strategies and adaptive formations, tailored to the evolving theatre of war. Each small victory, each diplomatic success, brought Rome closer to renewed dominance, positioning itself at the precipice of reclaiming its power. The shadow of Fabius extended beyond the constraints of any single war, reshaping Roman ethos and military doctrine. His legacy interwove patience and foresight into the fabric of Roman identity, transforming hesitation into heroic endurance, a touchstone for future generations who would value wisdom alongside might. In the sprawling landscapes of Iberia, the tension was palpable. This fertile ground was now the heart of a bloody struggle. For Carthage, it was a critical lifeline, a resource-rich territory fueling its war against Rome. As Hannibal waged his relentless campaign in Italy, the burden of defending Iberia fell to his brothers, Hasdrubal and Mago. These siblings were carved from the same stone of ambition and expectation, tasked with holding the strategic prize of Iberia against a rejuvenated Roman adversary led by the young Scipio Africanus. The air was weighted with dust and the scent of tension as the Carthaginian brothers engaged in a game of high-stakes strategy. Hasdrubal, the keen diplomat, understood the importance of combining martial prowess with alliances, while Mago, fierce and loyal, energized the Carthaginian troops. As they strove to protect this critical stronghold, the Roman forces under Scipio moved with a purpose that was both daunting and inspired. Scipio saw Iberia not just as a battlefield, but as the key to cutting off Hannibal's reinforcements, a strategic jugular in the Carthaginian war machine. Scipio Africanus, a rising star in the Roman constellation, was no ordinary general. He radiated a charisma and innovative spirit that transformed war into an art form. His arrival in Iberia was both to test new tactics and to shift the balance of power. Breaking away from traditional Roman military doctrine, his bold strategies kept even the most steadfast Carthaginian warriors unsettled. Under his guidance, the Roman legions evolved into a formidable force, infused with a newfound vigour and purpose. The true turning point in Iberia came at the battles of Baecula and Ilipa, where Scipio's tactical genius was brought to bear with devastating effect. At Baecula, he manoeuvred the terrain to execute a stunning envelopment of Hasdrubal's forces, amplifying Roman momentum and marking a crucial shift in the war. His victory did not merely smash Carthaginian formations, it disassembled their morale. Scipio's daring continued at Ilipa, where his audacious remodelling of troop formations confused the Carthaginians and led to a decisive Roman victory. Rome's hold on Iberia strengthened as Carthage's grip weakened. The fall of New Carthage was both a strategic and psychological coup for Rome, and a catastrophic blow to Carthage. This stronghold, with its commanding fortifications and importance as a supply hub, symbolized Carthaginian might. Yet Scipio, through meticulous planning and intelligence, orchestrated a surprise attack that brought the city to its knees. The prize was rich, a treasure trove of resources and a crushing hindrance to Hannibal's Italian ambitions. The city's loss was a resounding strike on Carthage's heart, creating ripples of apprehension across their territories. Meanwhile, across the Alps, Hannibal Barca's ambitious march to reinforce Hannibal unravelled tragically at the Metaurus River. His death in battle marked a pivotal shift. With his forces leaderless, the hope of significant reinforcements for Hannibal was extinguished, leaving Hannibal increasingly isolated and vulnerable in Italy. Rome found a renewed sense of destiny in this triumph, sensing the cracks in the Carthaginian armour. The siege and subsequent fall of Gades further cemented Rome's dominance in Iberia. Symbolic of enduring Carthaginian resistance, its capture by Scipio struck the final blow to Carthaginian influence on the peninsula, signalling Rome's transformation from beleaguered republic to burgeoning empire. The strategic brilliance and resilience exhibited by Rome's leadership, particularly Scipio, foreshadowed a new epoch of Roman supremacy, eroding Carthage's power while fortifying Rome's future ambitions. With Iberia firmly under Roman control, Scipio's legacy was assured, extending beyond the battlefield into the societal fabric of the region he had conquered. He introduced Roman governance that fused military acumen with astute diplomacy, securing alliances and planting seeds for an intertwined future. His efforts transformed Iberia into a vital part of the Roman Republic, laying the groundwork for cultural exchange and economic prosperity that would bind the territory to Rome for generations. Yet for Carthage, the loss of Iberia was devastating. With its territories and resources stripped, Carthage faced dire economic constraints and diminished geopolitical influence. The homeland, shaken by the defeat, turned inward, grappling with the harsh realities of a new world order dominated by Rome. The defeat underscored the vulnerabilities inherent in Carthage's dependencies, a lesson seared into the annals of history as they sought to adapt in a changed landscape. Though the Barca brothers would not see the fruition of their ambitions, their legacy endured. Hannibal's strategic genius and indomitable will echoed beyond his tactical defeats, continuously inspiring awe and respect. Hasdrubal's leadership and sacrifices, as well as Margot's relentless spirit, were etched in the chronicles of military history, symbolising Carthage's enduring struggle against overwhelming odds. Their stories, a testament to both brilliance and hubris, remain woven into the rich tapestry of the ancient world's grandest conflicts. As the sun set on the Italian campaigns, a new dawn of desperation rose in Carthage. After 15 long years of fighting Rome on foreign soil, the city called for Hannibal's return. The Carthaginian Empire was crumbling, surrounded by Roman pressure and internal discord. Hannibal, a battle-hardened leader, read the summons with a heavy heart, knowing it might lead to the final chapter of his legendary odyssey. Leaving Italy was not a choice, but a necessity. Carthage needed its hero more than ever. The return voyage to African shores was a mixture of anticipation and sorrow. His Italian campaign was brilliant yet incomplete. and Hannibal was now tasked with saving Carthage from the brink of destruction, as Rome prepared to bring the fight directly to Carthaginian soil. Upon his return, Hannibal found Carthage fractured, its mighty forces scattered, and the Senate paralysed by indecision. His first task was unity, rallying what remained of his military, and rekindling the once fiery defiance among allies. Hannibal knew victory at home required a different strategy from his Italian campaigns. It called for a mix of brilliance in tactics and urgent defence at Carthage's core. Rebuilding Carthaginian forces involved restoring morale. Hannibal led by example, drawing not just soldiers, but every citizen, merchants, farmers, and craftsmen into the fold. His presence reignited a spark of hope, fostering a unity forged in the promise of sovereignty and a future reclaimed. With Carthage unified, Hannibal engaged in careful diplomacy and strategy. Aligning Carthaginian factions and sharpening their diplomatic edge was crucial, for brute force alone couldn't counter Rome's military might. Strategic discussions were held, where Carthaginian diplomats crafted meticulous strategies, weighing every possibility on the scales of survival. Hannibal knew that Rome, scenting blood, might disregard pleas. He advocated a dual approach of decisive battles and small skirmishes, emphasizing deception and adaptation. Despite pride, Hannibal consulted seasoned tacticians, crafting plans that leveraged his talents and the enduring landscape of North Africa. Scipio Africanus, a formidable Roman strategist and veteran of Iberia, entered Africa with a clear mission: to end the Punic Wars, favouring Rome. He was not only skilled in warfare, but also had a keen understanding of Hannibal's tactics. Under his command, Roman forces became an ideological front, a precise machine aimed to avenge Italian grievances and prove Rome's dominance. Scipio innovated upon Hannibal's strategies, leading through a blend of naval sieges and cavalry battles, envisioning a legacy of Roman resilience. Near Zama, the vast plain stood silent, awaiting the historical confrontation between legendary commanders. Both sides saw Zama's open fields as a tactical battleground. Days saw opposing forces poised. Hannibal's formations betrayed no desperation despite the stakes. His elephants, symbols of psychological warfare, stood ready to charge, embodying Carthage's indomitable spirit. Facing them, Scipio's forces viewed Zama as an opportunity to reclaim peace for Rome and vanquish Hannibal's lingering shadow. With dawn came Hannibal's opening move. The war elephants, embodiments of chaos, thundered forth. These mountains of fury aimed to unravel Roman lines with their sheer power. However, Scipio, familiar with Hannibal's flamboyant strategies, had devised a counter. Roman lines opened, creating lanes for the charging beasts, preserving their structure. Trumpeters and archers further disoriented the animals. The dance of tactics and counter-tactics unfolded, with Roman discipline managing to contain Hannibal's mighty beasts. As the pachyderm spectacle waned, the battlefield clamour intensified. Hannibal and Scipio engaged fully, exchanging strategies amid chaos. Carthaginian infantry moved to outmaneuver Roman maniples, while Scipio replied with flexibility and cunning tactics. Flank attacks, feints and cavalry surges dominated as each side sought to outwit the other, striving for dominance. Hannibal, known for embedding chaos, faced Scipio's adaptive defence, a conflict of martial philosophies played on history's stage. The battle's turning point didn't hinge on a single act, but a crescendo of subtle shifts. Scipio's cavalry danced with Carthaginian horsemen, his forces executing strategic encirclement. Roman mastery began to unfold, the encirclement squeezing Carthaginian morale. Despite Hannibal's efforts to reform and counterattack, Roman discipline and Scipio's numerical advantage seized the day. Carthaginian hopes faltered, the defeat a symbol of Rome's ascension and Hannibal's indomitable yet exhausted resolve. In the ebbing battle light, Hannibal's legacy, marked by genius and resilience, found its poignant end. Zama was not just a spatial defeat, but an acknowledgement of Carthage's waning power. Hannibal, overshadowed by systemic constraints and lack of resources, bore the loss's weight. Yet, in defeat, his legend grew eternal, transcending the conflict to echo as a symbol of strategic prowess. The epoch of Hannibal closed, yet his legacy remained, an enduring testament to his timeless impact. The Battle of Zama reshaped destinies, marking Rome's rise and Carthage's reflection, a chronicle of ambition, humility, and lessons embedded in history's fabric. When defeat at Zama sealed the fate of Carthage, Hannibal knew his days in the city were numbered. The Romans demanded his exile to mark their triumph. Swiftly he faded from the streets of Carthage, disappearing into a life lived in the shadows. Once a renowned commander, he became a fugitive, his legend whispered in the corridors of power in both Rome and Carthage. His journey into exile marked the beginning of a chapter filled with uncertainty, his every move an enigma, evolving through lands unknown. As he journeyed through territories that once echoed with his victories, Hannibal carried the wisdom of a battle-hardened general. Bitterness accompanied him, a constant spectre of what might have been. He navigated a world where the loyalty of allies was fickle, and the threat of capture loomed large. It was a perilous path, leading him away from familiar shores to lands where every step might have felt like a retreat, yet held a defiant hope for resurgence. Finding refuge in the court of Antiochus III, the ambitious king of the Seleucid Empire, Hannibal was more than a displaced dignitary. Here in the heartland of Syria, his strategic mind found a stage once more. Antiochus recognized in him not just a symbol of defiance, but a valuable asset. The exiled general advised on military tactics, his reputation preceding him as he worked to bolster Antiochus's hopes against Rome. Yet amid the splendour of the Seleucid court, Hannibal remained ever aware of the fragile alliances, a dance of intrigue surrounding him. Hannibal's quest for allies against Rome saw him seeking out the old adversaries of Carthage, those with grievances against the burgeoning Roman hegemony. Engaging in shrewd diplomacy with former foes, he shared insights into Roman strategies over lavish banquets, igniting a spark in those who harboured restless ambitions for vengeance. Yet each new allegiance formed was a step closer to Rome's inevitable retribution, a testament to Hannibal's enduring influence and strategic prowess. His reputation, once feared, now leveraged to rally resistance. Rome's pursuit of Hannibal was relentless, driven by an unyielding resolve to bring the formidable general to heel. To them, he remained a threat, a persistent ember that could reignite rebellion if given the chance. Across kingdoms, bounties whispered through courts testified to the fear he still inspired. Each evasion was a silent battle, and Hannibal, ever the tactician, navigated this pursuit with the same cunning he once brought to great military campaigns. His life on the run was marked by subterfuge, each disguise a strategic maneuver to maintain his freedom. In this fugitive existence, trust became an unpredictable currency. Hosts who once offered sanctuary found themselves torn between allegiance and Rome's inexorable pressure. As allegiances shifted with the unpredictable tides of fortune, Hannibal learned that betrayal often lay hidden in the shadows, ready to strike. His journey was one of constant recalibration, adapting to betrayals with a strategic mind honed by years of warfare. This existence, steeped in cautious diplomacy, demanded a balance between geniality and the suspicion of ever-present danger. Amidst the chaos of his exile, moments of introspection offered Hannibal a chance to reflect on his life's journey. The years bore heavily upon him, as much a testament to his resilience as a reminder of the battles he'd fought and the legacy he cultivated. In solitude, he faced the cost of his ambitions, acknowledging the cities razed and lives lost in the relentless pursuit of conquest. These reflections were tinged with the understanding that true conquest lay not just across war-torn fields but within, in mastering the self amid a world of constant strife. Hannibal's legacy was woven into the fabric of history, transcending mere military chronicles. In tales passed down through generations, he became a figure of legend, revered not just for his battles but for the resilience and ingenuity he embodied. His story lived on in markets and taverns, whispered by storytellers who saw in him a symbol of defiance. The man once feared by Rome had become a beacon of resistance, his exploits a testament to the enduring human spirit against overwhelming odds. Yet the reach of Rome was vast, and the inevitability of capture loomed like a shadow. Legend speaks of Hannibal's last stand, facing a choice not between surrender and freedom, but between capture and death on his own terms. In choosing poison over capture, he asserted his identity one final time, a decision that echoed with defiance and dignity, preserving his autonomy even in death. This choice, intertwined with his legacy, echoed through history as a symbol of unyielding resolve. Through the years, storytellers continued to breathe life into Hannibal's narrative, crafting sagas that transcended time. Around fires and in bustling forums, his name lingered as a testament to the struggle for autonomy and the spirit of defiance that defined his life. As the stories wove through generations, Hannibal's essence endured, reminding those who would listen of the timeless struggle against the forces that sought to consume the souls of those who dared to defy the odds. His story became a resonant melody in the symphony of history, an enduring narrative of courage and conviction. In the wake of Hannibal's dramatic campaigns, the Roman psyche remained haunted by his shadow. His near-mythical victory at Cannae became etched in the Roman consciousness, a grim reminder of vulnerability despite their ultimate triumph. The tale of his ingenuity and the dread he instilled in the hearts of Romans was passed down in whispers, as if truth mingled with legend around the dim light of Roman hearths. The phrase Hannibal ad portas became a quickened pulse of fear, a reminder in Roman times of stemming crises at the gates, both literal and figurative. Though Rome emerged victorious, the spectre of Hannibal lingered, seeding a legacy that fed off its own terror and respect. The Roman state, renowned for its discipline and martial prowess, could not ignore the lessons carved out by its brushes with Hannibal's brilliance. Every failure on the battlefield was dissected, its anatomy laid bare in the hope that new generations of soldiers would learn from past follies, turning Hannibal's ghost into a mentor in absentia. He became a staple of discussion in the halls where Roman generals shaped their strategies, ensuring that every future campaign bore the mark of his influence. This influence seeped into the Roman narrative, framing their tales of glory with an undercurrent of the cautionary tale. Rome's cultural tapestry shifted to accommodate this counter-narrative, where Hannibal's feats were acknowledged within the broader narrative of Roman supremacy. Historians like Livy bore the challenge of reconciling these tales, crafting accounts that, while extolling Roman victories, didn't shy away from commemorating the near-supernatural capabilities of the Carthaginian genius. This acknowledgement served to inspire within Rome a continuous readiness, a societal vigilance against the notion of unchecked supremacy. At the heart of the rivalry between Hannibal and Scipio, Africanus lay a deep mutual respect that transcended enmity. Celebrated in their time and beyond, these two military luminaries set the gold standard for strategic brilliance. Scipio, studying his adversary's methods, crafted his victories not solely through might, but through an understanding of Hannibal's strategic dance. Their storied confrontation at Zama became the stuff of legends, where Hannibal's tactical genius met its match not because it faltered, but because Scipio dared to learn from his opponent. Stories are told of a later meeting between the two, where they discussed tactics and battles, each influence mingling into the tapestry of warfare that would guide future generations. Hannibal's legacy further radiated beyond personal rivalries, infiltrating the bedrock of Roman military and cultural strategy. His masterful use of ambushes and strategic envelopment coloured the lessons in Roman military academies. His ability to inspire loyalty among a mosaic of Carthaginians, Numidians, Gauls and Iberians became a cornerstone of leadership studies in Rome. His acts guided a shift toward adaptability, urging Rome to embrace innovative tactics that would underpin their dominance for centuries. The tale of Hannibal's youthful oath, sworn in blood to his father Hamilcar, took root in both Roman and broader ancient fascination, with themes of honour and vengeance. It mirrored Rome's own values, casting Hannibal in a light both adversarial and profoundly relatable. To the Romans, this oath symbolised more than one man's vendetta. It spoke to a timeless narrative of duty and its existential grip on the actions of leaders, serving as a mirror to reflect upon the Roman virtues of family allegiance and the high stakes of personal vows. In the Roman educational canon, Hannibal's campaigns provided vital lessons, demanding attention not only for their military potency, but for their broader insights into diplomacy and statecraft. The sagas of Carthaginian treaties and Hannibal's alliances fostered an appreciation for the delicate balance of power and strategy. Roman scholars, through the prisms of these studies, cultivated a more nuanced understanding, ensuring that the lessons learned from Hannibal's campaigns tempered Roman resilience and readiness. Hannibal's legend spilled into Roman folklore, transitioning from reality to myth and becoming a tool for instilling discipline. The chilling spectre of Hannibal at the gates morphed into a bogeyman figure in Roman culture, weaving itself into bedtime stories as a societal glue that cautioned against complacency and external threats. His transformation into folklore served a deeper narrative need: the creation of an archetype through which Romans could navigate their collective fears and reinforce their vigilance. Despite the adversarial history, Rome honoured Hannibal in its public memory. Monuments and memorials spoke not only of victory, but of respect for a formidable adversary who, by challenging Rome, had irrevocably shaped its trajectory. These commemorative acts highlighted the symbiotic nature of their conflict, embodying lessons taught and lessons learned, inscribed in stone as testament to the dual nature of conflict as both destructive and transformative. In Roman literature and oratory, Hannibal became a symbolic reference, his legacy effortlessly blending into rhetorical flourishes and philosophical discourses. Figures like Cicero drew upon the Carthaginians' life as a narrative exemplar, a canvas for illustrating themes of perseverance and leadership. Within these stories, Hannibal seamlessly became part of Rome's literary heritage, a complex character through whom Rome could reflect on law, ethics, and governance. Hannibal's enduring legacy transcends the bounds of history to remain a resounding cautionary tale, a reminder of the intertwining fates of adversaries who, through their conflict, defined an era. His story does not simply linger as a shadow over the Roman chronicles. It persists within cultural memory as a significant echo of adversity met with resilience. As we conclude this journey through history, if you've enjoyed this exploration of stories woven from ancient frames, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more journeys into the past's vivid tapestry.